Hi guys, Matt from Finatics here. It's Sunday, March the 28th, and instead of being home with my family, I'm down here messing around and doing an update video for you guys. Actually, my family's out of town this weekend, so it gave me a little bit of extra time to update you on what we got going on here. So much to go over, but try to zero in on the things that are interesting to you all. First off, I want to take a minute and thank everybody who helped out around here in so many different ways. Of course, we had several volunteers helped us when we were moving. Also, I've had people come and give us shop warming gifts, and that's so cool and neat. But also, most importantly, we've seen so many of our regulars and new regulars down here checking us out, checking out the new digs in the last going on 2 weeks that we've been in the new place. It's just completely heartwarming to realize just what a part of the community that we can be. A huge thank you to all of our great clients, new and old. I want to take a second and call out all the great help I've had from my staff. Put on 2 new people recently, and the 2 that we had before have been instrumental in us being able to bring you the product that you need. So I've always had a huge plan in mind of what I want this shop to look like, and I thought I'd tip my hand a little bit and share with you where I've been wanting to go all along. When I bought this place a few years back, I had in mind to move into a bigger space like on day one. Looked for real estate for a long time, and at some point realized I was just going to have to settle in until the right place came available and the finances were right. When the pandemic came down last year, I realized I'd waited too long to get into a new place because we were so tight on space that it made it really impossible to do regular business there. That's why I got really serious about finding something and finding a way to shove it into working, and that's how we got here. In this humongous, absolutely giant space that we have, we can now be open for regular business, even as long as the lockdowns go and after. I mean, that's our huge plan. I've always wanted to have a big space with enough room to turn around in, but also be able to have a ton of tanks, because in the end, I'm a hobbyist just like the rest of you guys. I love fish. I love having lots of fish to show off. I'm kind of that kind of guy that likes to show off my tanks. Remember back in Christmas where I took you on a round of my personal tanks? And if you show up here to go shopping, you'll have the opportunity to go wander around with me, and I'll show all the cool fish that I got this week or last year, because that's what I want to do. This enormous space gives me a lot of latitude to do that. And to that end, we have a whole lot of things going on right now. Every week I expect huge changes here. The last 2 weeks, definitely lots and lots to share. Also, I want to spend a little bit of time going over what we are expecting. I hate doing that because that puts that expectation out there like, well, if you said it was going to be done on Monday and it's Thursday, why ain't it done? Well, sometimes they take an extra week or an extra month or an extra 3.5 years like getting into the space did. So I spent most of the last week coming up with restock, just ordering the stuff that we normally carried and maybe just a little extra heavy on a few things, and adding in bits and pieces that we'd left off before because we just didn't have enough space into a giant restock. Get the place completely full up of all the things you normally expect us to have. Of course, with all the outages that we run into because of the pandemic, we're still having some holes. The real feel is, though, with as much space as we have now, we can put all the stuff that we had here before out, and it looks like we have hardly anything. Now, some of that is just proper merchandising, and we're going to get that covered in the weeks to come. I do want to show off my freezer. Check this thing out. This is huge. A 2-door glass merchandise freezer. Holds all the frozen food that we had before and looks half empty as opposed to so full you can't even see into there. Truth is, I didn't pick up any new products. Everything in here is stuff we've had in the past. I got a little extra stock on a few things to make sure we didn't run out. And we'll continue to expand our frozen program. But in case you were wondering, Finatics carries a ton of frozen food. It's a huge part of our business. We have a great price on it. If there's anything in frozen that you don't see here, for God's sakes, tell me. I will get it because I have the room to carry it, and I want to be your place for frozen food. One of the big growth areas for us as we were transitioning here was in foods. I always want to have the best foods, and that's why I was talking so much about that frozen food. But dry food is the thing too. First off, Cobalt just stopped making food. I don't know if they'll ever start again, but as long as they're not making food, I can't sell it to you. I expanded into a couple of new brands for me. One was this Extreme, and it's merchandised terribly. We'll get that fixed here in the next week or so. But we have a great selection of a really amazing food. Also, Omega-1, tried and true dry food. They also make frozen foods as well. We're going to expand that as we go, but right now I've got a good stock of a decent flake food. And the Extreme. Of course, we've always had Repashy. Restocked on that right before we moved. I'm already ready to restock on them again. Amazing how quickly we can go through Repashy. If you haven't tried that, that's a gel food. Does a great job of feeding plecos and bottom fish, but your other community fish and cichlids will figure it out and go after that also. Remember, when you try a new food, not uncommon for the fish not to take it the first time or two, but if they smell amazing, they find it, and that's Repashy in a nutshell. We are closing out a couple things, like I got a bit of Sarah here. If you're looking to get some cheap stuff, I will close out Sarah at half price. Also, a little bit of cobalt left over. I'm happy to dump that at half price as well. Hikari is a growth area for us. We've always carried a lot of SKUs of Hikari. There's a freeze-dried stuff. We also have a ton of pellets by Hikari. Doesn't look like that much right now because how much space we have, and also we need to get it all merchandised properly. But we carry a ton of pellets and frozen food by Hikari. Also getting ready for pond season. We got a bunch of koi food restocked on that heavy. Made sure we had even more of that for you guys to choose from, get the right size, the right grade for you. As you can see, we got a lot of room left to fill in here for other new products. I keep picking up stuff that I always wanted, but I've got my eye out on a ton of different things. I have 3 orders this week. I'm going to try to get into distribution level places where I have to order big truckloads of stuff to get their thing. Our aquascaping stuff is a bit of a mess right now. We've got a ton of rocks and gravel and sand and wood and spider wood and all the things you want for aquascaping, and it's in boxes sitting on the floor. Working on getting displays built to make that a lot better for you. My intent is to have this whole area in here set up to be aquascaping central. I mean, check out these floating plants that I've got set up. This again, aquascaping type deals. I'm totally committed to and excited to bring the most complete aquascaping display that you could possibly get a hold of. Been promising that we're going to get more plants in. Held off a little long because of the move, but on Saturday, huge shipment of plants arrived. We're still getting them settled into their homes. Hopefully they'll get out of these tanks quickly and we'll restock once again. When I did my order form, basically I checked every dang box. We got everything they had and brought in a huge display of live aquarium plants for you guys. Fish-wise, I've got a video coming up, and I will on the plants as well for this week, what we got in new. A lot of restock stuff, a few new things. We didn't go too heavy last week when I ordered, and remember my fish videos are always held back a week to make sure that they quarantine well. But we have the same number of fish tanks now as we had in the old store. So we were just a little bit circumspect about over-ordering on fish the last 2 weeks because I wanted to make sure that we didn't have any problems from the move. We got a ton of really cool stuff in, very few problems from the move, so things are looking great. Also, we have new tank stands coming up, and that's this space here I'm showing you. You're like, why am I showing you the bagging station? That's because right there and right there will be 2 new tank stands, and right there will be 2 new tank stands, and behind me, right there and right there. And I'm not talking about next year. I'm expecting those like at the beginning of next month. If they go late, in the middle of next month, we'll have new tank stands for, let's see, it holds 8 per times 6 times 8, 50 some odd, 20-gallon tanks, and another dozen 55-gallon tanks just to fill off the rest of this display. Also, we're looking at these stands here. We got to do a little retrofitting to make them work right, but we're going to set these up so we have 10-gallon tanks divided out a bunch of different ways so we can put a bunch of bettas on them. We'll be able to have I don't know what it'll end up being, but many more bettas than what we've had in the past. Before we put all that weight on there, we got to retrofit these stands or build new ones to make that work properly. So stay tuned on that one. That's still a bit away. And then after we get done building stands, to go in this area, we've got a whole new growth area after that. Now, Again, it's always about time frame and when that's going to happen. We'll touch on that a bit later in this video. Over here I have one lonely pond from the other place, and people are asking me, am I going to set the ponds up outside like we did last year, or am I going to bring them inside? I certainly got floor space right now to go ahead and set up. We're a few weeks away from pond season, though a lot of people are already asking, when are we going to have koi and what's that going to look like? Suffice to say, my intent is to hit pond season like we never have before. I want to be your place for pond stuff, get you the best equipment at the best prices, the best livestock at the best prices, and what you need to be successful for your pond this year. I don't have a perfect answer for what that's going to look like, except for it's going to be big. One of the challenges we're still working with, we're still having a bit of problems with our electrical, but we're getting that sorted as the days go on. All these lights for tanks sitting here and around other places in the fish room. This is lights that burned out during the pandemic or ones that got lost during our move. Long and short is, Martha up here, beautiful, amazing Martha, has been without a light for like 2 weeks. She's been pretty cool about it. We got to get her tank all aquascaped and light back on it so you can see her instead of the glare that's coming on the tank here. We love our Martha. Stan's got no light. I don't know why Stan doesn't have a light, but we're going to fix that. By the end of the week, we'll have lights on every tank. I had a bunch of lights I bought for the new build, and it seems like I'm going to use all those just in fixing ones that are missing, so I have to get out there and find some more lights for the new build that'll be here in a couple weeks. If you've been here, you've seen this back door, and you probably figured that went to a bathroom and maybe a little bit of workspace. If you haven't been through the door, you may not have realized just how much backspace that represents. This area over here, all this big area here, that's the new fish room. We're going to plan on opening up another third of the shop, or another third bigger in fish room for the shop. You may have heard me talk about my grooming shop. I own the parking lot up on there, have for 22 years, started it with my late wife. That was my exclusive business for many years until I bought the Finatics. I'm going to combine them so I don't have to run back and forth. This will be our grooming space when I get the construction finished. And again, you're always going to ask first off, when is that going to happen? My answer is soon. We've got to do permitting through the city again. Hopefully it'll go faster in the last phase of the front area because a lot of the stuff's already done. But with any luck, we'll be opening up the new fish room area and the grooming shop in about, somewhere in the 2 to 4 months range. I got stuck on these here because I want to talk about them. All these tanks sitting here, that's the tanks for that new build I was telling you guys about. I mean, we're serious. That's actually happening, not gonna happen or kind of happen. I've got a pallet of 10-gallon tanks. I got 2 pallets of 20-gallon tanks, and back behind there, there's a pallet of 55s and a pallet of 90-gallon tanks. And then we get to the actual back room. The actual back room, you guys didn't know you're gonna get a back room tour. This is where our workstation is gonna be, and we've spent so much time setting up the front room, we haven't had a chance to really set this up. We're lucky just to have a fridge to keep our black worms in, tubs to do some work in, but we'll get the rest of this worked out before too long. And back behind that, we actually have more storage, believe it or not. This keeps going and going. This is the real back door to the alley. Up over here, we have that blower. You see the pipes up there. Wonder where the air comes from. That little guy right there, that's our blower. That makes air for all the tanks. There's enough there to expand. I think it's going to be enough for all the tanks I want to do. If not, we'll add another one. I've actually got 2 backups. This is just storage, but the reason I'm walking over here is to show you this incredible hot water heater. In the last place, one of the biggest problems we had was hot water. We couldn't change the tanks enough because we ran out of hot water all the time. So we did the best we could to make do with that, spread our shifts out and such. But now we have hot water forever. We'll never run out of hot water. We'll always be able to do every change that we want to do. But anyway, that's the back room tour for Finatics. Now you can see you've seen it. Right here is a ginormous tank that somebody gave me. Actually, Brad over at BS Fish Tanks, so I'll give him a call out, gave me this tank. It's 2 bits, this big piece and another one just like it back there. I'm in talks and getting a stand built for that. I don't have a date or a time for that either, but that'll be another display tank that I want to put together. I have a want and a desire and formulating plans to have an incredible array of display tanks. Again, let's get real. I'm a hobbyist through and through, just like you, and I want to see fish. I want to see cool fish. I want to see fish all colored up and doing what fish should do, and I want to show them off to you. So that's the big plan. I hope you enjoyed the tours and some insight as to what we do around here at Finatics. I'm really, really excited about the next days and weeks and months. Kind of give you a thumbnail sketch of what's going to be different this week, next month, maybe a couple months. Some of the things are going to take 3 or 4 or 5, maybe even 6 months to happen, but we've got new things to happen and share every week for the foreseeable future. Come check us out. We are ready for you here at Finatics.